Success. Is it really a secret? I don't think so. Join me as I interview guests from different cultures and backgrounds who have overcome incredible challenges to create the life they live today. 1,000 likes, celebrity status, lots of money, or big cars, these are things that come and go and do not define true success. So what is it? And most importantly, how do we create it? If you're a child, teen, or adult trying to understand how to achieve this word, then you are not alone and you won't want to miss a single episode of The Secret to Success Isn't So Secret. This is Christy Maggio, and the key is right here. It's not a great secret, so don't just listen, learn, and take action. Welcome to the Secret to Success Isn't So Secret podcast. I want to welcome my guests today, Alex Bleakley, Luke Mullens, and Benjamin Wong. I'm so happy to have you guys here today. We're going to start with Alex. So Alex is 13. He is in Australia. Alex, tell me about yourself. Tell me what your interests are, what you love to do, and how you got into being an entrepreneur.
So I'm Alex. I'm from Australia and I'm in Queensland here. I'm 13 years old and I have a big passion for beekeeping. And my entrepreneurial journey kind of started off as a homeschooling project because, I started homeschooling since I was, it was about 7 years ago now. And I started my homeschooling journey and where my mum was basically creating the school system in her lounge room. So after about 2 years of that, we realized it wasn't quite working out for us. So we started project-based learning. And project-based learning led me to my passion, which is beekeeping. Now, I have many other passions and hobbies like mountain biking, scootering, park scootering, going to the beach. And with beekeeping, we we started off as a passion, and it was a homeschooling project. And my siblings, went to our mum and dad to ask if we could buy a hive. But they said no because they weren't responsible enough. So we all decided to invest all of our money into a new hive, and that was how B.Buff was born. B.Buff 3 Kids Honey. So at B.Buff 3 Kids Honey, we make honey to teach kids about money. So we started selling in about, say, a year after we started. And through that, we decided, the reason I got out of schools was because my mum and dad noticed that, schools weren't teaching me financial education or anything to do about entrepreneurship or business in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with with pardon me, with BVAR, we decided, if schools aren't going to teach this, we are going to teach through our business because we believe that experience is key to, teaching because we don't believe that reading off a textbook really helps teach.
Right.
So BBAF was born and we started teaching kids about financial education. About, say, a year later, again, I started a Young Entrepreneurs Academy by Genius U. And Genius U is a platform run by Roger Hamilton, a big entrepreneur. And so I went in and Luke was in there. And while I was doing it, there was a competition. And there was a juniors category and a seniors category. I was in the juniors, Luke was in the seniors. So after the competition was finished, Luke and I actually won, and we got together and actually created Rich Kids Global. So the thing with school is, I would say that schools are a little bit outdated. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think schools don't teach entrepreneurial skills, and most of the successful people nowadays are in business.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that in order to be successful in your life, you have to set up that foundation. Because in a house, if you don't set up that nice, strong foundation, the house will collapse.
Right.
So, with this, the reason my siblings and I are doing, sorry, I said I twice, but the reason we're doing this is because we want to build that good foundation for us, but not only us, those kids who are listening to our videos.
I think that's incredible because, even as a young person, you might think, well, I'm just trying to get it down myself right now, right? But
Yeah.
now you're not just trying to get it down. I mean, you're still learning, right? But not only that, you want to kind of empower other young people around you to be able to have that experience that that they're probably not going to get in regular school, right? So I think that's wonderful because a lot of times and many, and I think with all three of you, that it's really wonderful because you're not just thinking of yourself, you're thinking, wow, this is wonderful for me, but how can I share this with other young people? All right, good stuff. Okay, Ben, here we go. So let's go back. I want you to tell me your interests, your hobbies, what you love to do, and how you got into being an entrepreneur. And tell me about school. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm Ben. Most people call me, yep, I'm Ben. I'm from sunny California. I'm 14 years old. Right now, my biggest hobby is definitely business. But other than that, I love collecting things, whether it's stamps, coins, pins, and I love exercise. Love going outside, playing tennis, going on walks, just hanging around outside. And how I got started was in business was a couple years back. I think I was 11, 10, and I really wanted this video game subscription. It was like an online, one of those um, online places where everyone has their own avatar, things like that. And I really wanted this membership, right? And I could have asked my parents, of course, if they would get it for me, but I wanted to earn it myself, right? And also saving the hassle of asking my parents. So I had a bunch of avocado trees outside. And what I did was I got a ladder, of course, with my parents' permission, and they're supervising me, of course. And I picked all these avocados and then I took them to the corner of the street and I just sold them. And I sold like, I don't know, 50 avocados in an hour. I made 30 bucks. And it was a great experience. Eventually got my subscription, and that was the start of create a me in business.
Wow, incredible. Selling avocados from the tree. That's lovely. That's great. How old were you then? 10, right?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, 9, 10, 11, probably somewhere around there.
And so after you did that, because now you said you're 14, right? How did you continue to go on with that entrepreneurial spirit now that you kind of got the taste for it, in the sense of selling those, getting the money, buying your own video game? What made you continue?
Yes, I think it was really just a thrill of being able to finally buy something with my own money, knowing that I earned this. And I did it again with my best friends who wanted this Star Wars subscription box. Again, collecting, and we went same thing with some more people this time. Picked a lot more. We eventually bought it, and we split the loot. And then it was again that thrill of one earning it, and then being able to receive what we earned, and the journey was really important as well. So from there, I think that was the last time. Might have done it one more time, but after that point, I didn't really want to keep buying these video game subscriptions because they weren't really of any use to me. I was getting older, maturing. I was 11, a matter of a year or two. And I've always been into investing. So one time on my birthday, 11th birthday, I think, my dad set me up an investment account. It was a custodian account for kids. and I could basically invest however I wanted. So I started doing these avocado sales to help pay for my investment portfolio. And that was my next big thing, which is financial education. And I became really, really interested in that. And I would go to school, talking about my amazing returns of 20 bucks on my stock. And my friends would be like, hey, Ben, my parents want me to do that too. How do I do this? So I created a podcast called Kids CEO. And the intention was that instead of having to go help everyone one by one, I can just have this centralized area where
Mhm.
podcasting was relatively new, to have a central podcast where I could direct people to for all their questions. And from there, I started evolving the podcast over time that suited with my interest at the time, until I got to, I think, last year, where I started interviewing other entrepreneurial kids, established entrepreneur kids who have $1 million companies, or thousands of followers, and I interviewed them about what made them tick. From there, I had a summit in February called the Kids CEO Summit, where I met Luke and Alex. And then I transitioned all that into my new podcast called Young Trep, which is all about interviewing some of the world's greatest entrepreneurs. So we've had Evan Carmichael. He has 7 million, no, 2 million, 3 million,
3 million.
3 million YouTube followers. He's a motivational YouTuber. I interviewed Nathan Chan. He is the founder of Founder Magazine. And I basically interviewed these guys guys and girls, to discover what they are an expert in and how they can apply that to kids.
Mhm.
And that's what I do to this day.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Yeah. I mean, that's really, really important. I mean, if you want to make that difference and you want to have, and I think it's important that, like, adults can ultimately tell kids the same thing that you tell them, right? However, they don't necessarily listen to adults as much as they listen to somebody that's their age telling them the same. Is it coming from someone their age? Um, so I think it's great that you go get that information and then bring it back to them, because then they're more apt to listen to somebody like you. I mean, I could tell them the same information, have that same interview with Evan Carmichael, but you, however, they're going to listen to, because there's that connection there. Whereas I'm just some lady who's trying to tell them something that they should do. And so it's that relationship factor, that relating
Yeah.
factor. So that's great. So tell me about your idea of school, what you think of school. You're in public school, you're in home school, and or which one you're in, and how you feel about school.
Yeah, so I like to say that I've been in a little bit of everything. In preschool, so like 4 years old, up until third grade, I went to the Montessori schools. I don't know if you're familiar with the Montessori school system, but it's all 100% literally project based, hands on. So there's no desks, pretty much. The entire classroom is made up of shelves of toys, educational toys, very, very educational toys. And these were all very carefully designed mechanisms that were able to teach concepts in fun, simple, visual ways, right? So for division, we had this giant board where you can put beads that had different quantities, and you use them. Figure out how that works now, but and I don't know if you're familiar with this, but those you know boards where they had beads, and you could use those to like count 1, 2, 3, 4, or like subtract. That's how we learned addition. For fractions, we had these trays, and they had metal, actual like slices of pie, quote unquote slices of pie,
Mhm.
and we could see how if you put two halves of the pie would be equal to putting uh, 10 tenths, right? And you could see how that ratio works. And we learned that in first grade kindergarten. We were learning how to divide fractions. And it was easy, simple through those type of things. So from then I left that Montessori school to go back to the public school in fourth grade. I think that was really important because it helped me get out of my comfort zone, because the Montessori school only had, 13, 14 kids in the class. And there's only one class in that grade, or in that section of school, so elementary. So I was really only around 12 people every single day. And I went to a public school where I had 100 plus people, and that was really good in opening my eyes to kids around me, right, and understanding being, belonging with other peers. And now I am going to a charter school in California school system next year, where it's kind of like a homeschool system, but it's more customized in what I want to do.
And what is it that you want? So in school next year, what do they allow you to focus on?
Yep. So you still have to do all the basic subjects: English, math, some sort of history
Mhm.
and science, I think. I don't
Yeah.
know. But you still have to do those type of things, right? But you get to choose how you learn those type of things. So they have like I think I'm not too familiar with the charter school yet, but they have a standard project based um, guide for every section. So for example, if you're taking history, you're taking US history, right? You're learning about Civil War. You can't just say, "Oh, I learned the Civil War, I'm done." You have to like do a project. Maybe you have to reenact. You have lots of options. But the
Mhm.
idea is that you can learn it however you want. You can read a textbook, you can watch take an online course, you can do a live face-to-face class, you can go in for a class, as long as you learn the material however way you feel it's best. And then, of course, they give you funds to finance that. And so I'm also going to use that extra time that I can customize my learning and do things like travel. I want to visit all my my fellow entrepreneurs over the next year. I want to do some speaking engagements, and also most of all, just be able to work on business and build my own lifestyle.
Wow. That's incredible. I love it. I love it. That's amazing, amazing. And I think that's really important in the sense of you being able to kind of customize that. And I think that's the one thing that a lot of schools are missing today is the ability to be flexible and to allow kids more or less to learn in the way that they learn best. Because I think you would get rid of the boredom in school and get rid
Yeah.
of the disinterest if you were able to make it focused on them in the way that they learn best and in what they're interested in. I think that that would basically make most kids really happy if school was like that. So, yeah, that's wonderful. Well, thank you, Ben. We'll come back to you when we start talking about Rich Kids Global. So, welcome, Luke. I want you to tell me now your story about things about how you grew up, what you're interested in, and how you got into becoming an entrepreneur.
Mm. Yeah, so my life, I've been moving around quite a lot, traveling the world. But for the first 10 years of my life, I was living in a small town called Aylesbury here in the UK. And when I turned 8 years old, my dad introduced me into business because I had a very expensive taste from a young age. I like fancy things. And I really like clothing. We got the Rich Kids Global branding on all of our stuff. And but when I was 8 years old, I started my first clothing line called M.A.P.S Streetwear. Unfortunately, it didn't really turn out too well, but it gave me a really good foundation. I learned how to get websites done, logos done. I had it all done so professionally, but it just didn't work out. And I think it was a testament to how old I was, because I was 8 years old. I was very young, and that was really my first go of business. And ever since then, I just haven't let it go. Every year it's always been a new business idea, a new thing to try out. So when I was 10, I moved from the UK all the way over to Australia, and in Sydney. And when we were living in Sydney, I tried out candles. I chucked a bunch of money at candles, but making candles, perfecting the product. It just didn't take off. I asked all the girls across the suburbs of Sydney, eastern suburbs of Sydney, what's your favorite candle? Candle fragrance. What's this, that, and the other. Did some market research. did all of that, and it just didn't take off. I put all this money into it, and I only had 1 or 2 good candles after all the testing. So that unfortunately failed. And then one of the years in Sydney, every year we have this massive fireworks show on New Year's Eve at midnight. And I went to all the most scenic locations in the eastern suburbs with one of my best mates out there. And I was out, we're out there for hours, 6 hours, something crazy like that. I gone to this shop, got glow sticks for really, really cheap, sold them on to everyone. Hey, do you want a glow stick? Hey, do you want a glow stick? Hey, do you want a glow stick? It was like fundraising, but it was for profit, and it was exhausting. And that was really good for me because I learned how to just keep on going. And that was a really cool time because that was the first time I ever made a profit. I put $80 in. By the end of the night, I made $20. And I gave that to my friend because he was doing it with me. And I had loads of glow sticks left. I also tried, when I got back to the UK, I tried soap making. That didn't really work out because I needed to get all the permits. And since then, I've tried a digital marketing company, which is doing quite a bit better. Started Rich Kids Global, of course. I've dabbled in watches, spent a bunch of money on a Tag Heuer watch, and I haven't been quite able to sell it. So that's something I still need to do. But these are most of the business ventures, and it shows all those failures throughout those years, all those months of hard work. It does really take a lot of failures, and that's not a bad thing, because as Alex says, failure is first attempt in learning, right? It's not that's the thing that a failure is. And I think that's really drilled into me what it takes. And also, I've had jobs in a watch shop when I was 12 years old, selling Rolexes and all these watches for all the way up to £200,000. I tried on a watch. My boss, such a cool guy, my first mentor, he brought he was like, hey, come to the back room, show me this white Richard Mille. It's RM55 Bubble Watson white one, if you're into your watches. And he showed it to me, let me try it on. That was insane. And that was also a really good time. I learned a lot in that time as well. And all of these experiences just built my resilience, but my skill set to start Rich Kids Global and digital marketing companies that now are doing a lot more well, or at least have a much better foundation to the other ones.
Wow. I mean, that in and of itself, because I have to say that a lot of times young people will go out there, they will attempt something once, and then what they'll do is they'll say, oh, well, it was too much work, or it was too difficult, or too hard, or whatever it might have been, and then they'll just stop, right? But I mean, you literally must have had like there must have been something in you that was maybe is the water that you drank or something that like literally, because going from a clothing line to candles to soaps to watches to glow sticks and on and on and on. I mean, God love you. I mean, it's you were not giving up for anything, and now and I love what you said, that failure is your first attempt
in learning. That's Alex's phrase. Alex told me that.
I love that, Alex. Like, I need to make a big like banner poster that says fail and first attempt in learning. I absolutely love that. Like, you need to have t-shirts made up with that on it. Like, I just think it's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah.
So,
I quoted from Tom Billy.
okay. Well, you can still have t-shirts made up, and then at the bottom you can have that quote, and you can have his name so that you give the credit where credit's due, but at the same time I love that. So, okay. Now, tell me about school. Tell me, did you go to public school?
Yeah, so I've been to school actually in 3 different continents. I've been in school over here in the UK. I've been in school in Australia, and I've been to school in Zimbabwe, of all places. That's actually where my parents are from. So when I was living in Aylesbury until I was 10. Went to public school. You know, you could call me the class clown, always calling mischief. So that school, I just misbehaved. That I don't know. School. I just didn't get school. You know, of course, I learned a lot still. And then and that was my first experience in school.
Okay, hold on. So looking back on it, why did you misbehave so much?
I think the whole nature behind it is maybe I was a know-it-all, and I think this kind of carried on because I always had this business in mind, and that was kind of like from in the later years, in like the last year. I was a bit of a know-it-all. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna smash this business out, and I don't need school. I don't know. It's just I was bored. I wanted to be cool. I don't know, one of these things, and that was the first experience.
I mean, maybe you needed to be more challenged.
Yeah, maybe. And I did not like homework. I'll tell you that. I did not like homework. But and then when I moved to Australia, I went to school in Rose Bay, a public school for 2 years. Then pretty much the same thing. Half the teachers loved me, half the teachers absolutely hated me because of my character. You know, when they were teaching, they would say, you know, I'd start laughing, or I'd make a joke, and then everyone would start laughing, and then they have to start their teaching all over again, and I was misbehaving over here, there, you know, all of this stuff. But in those years, I did learn a lot, and the foundation that I learned was really good. And you know, it's school helps you with people, and I think my confidence really is because of that time in school. I just got really confident. It was a bad thing at the time to the teachers, I'm sure, but I wouldn't be where I am now. And then after that, when I turned 13, when I was 13, 12, 13, I went to my first private school because I was finishing secondary school. I had to go back a year when I moved to Australia. I would have been into secondary school sooner, but just because of how it works in Australia. So I was going into my first high school, and there were so many nice schools in the area, really wealthy place. I was like, Mum, Dad, this is my goal. I want to go to this school called Waverley College, all boys private school. The facilities there are absolutely incredible. So that's where I went. I had an interview with the head teacher, absolutely smashed out of the park, and I went there for a year. Again, the confidence I made, the facilities, it was all incredible. And then I went to Zimbabwe on the way back from Australia because at the end of that year, I was moving back to England. And on the way, I went to Zimbabwe for 2 months by myself. And my uncle, his kids, my cousins, they go to St. John's, which is a school in Zimbabwe, one of the poshest schools there. And that's where my dad actually went when he was younger. So I went to the same school my dad went to for a week. And the culture difference was absolutely crazy. It was still an all-boys private school, but the culture was so much different. And then when I got back to England, I'm in a place not too far from Aylesbury now, and I went to a co-ed public school, and this is where it all changed. Right, I came from the private schools, all boys, to a co-ed boys and girls school, which is public. Right, I saw it from the outside, looked absolutely dreadful, all bricks. The facilities were just not there, and it was not ideal. I came to the school. I had no friends. I had no friends actually, and I had no confidence. My confidence was gone from so high, being misbehaved, to being the quiet kid from Australia. And then this is where I started selling sweets, and then everyone was my friend because I sold sweets around, made friends with everyone, and then I was friends with everyone, and that was over 2 years. But that's a different story. But after all of these different schools and experiences, kind of beating around the bush, but I found that it's out of date. The school system's out of date. School teaches you, right, you go to school, you go to high school, get as good grades as you can, then you go on to college, and then you go get a job, and then you pay us taxes. All right, we get money from you going to college, and that's how it works. But I found if you want to make the big bucks, if you want to enjoy your work, working for someone else is not going to get you to achieve your goals. Right, and that's why I ended up dropping out. I dropped out in December last year, just 5-6 months before I would have finished my school. to come do Rich Kids Global and my other businesses. And none of this would have happened if I didn't drop out. But as a result of that, I still have to do another year of studying alongside my apprenticeship, which is for my digital marketing company of school, so I can actually do my GCSEs, which is the main test.
Mhm.
Yeah, so school I think is outdated, and that's my experience. Very long-winded. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. And it's interesting that you say that though, because um one thing I want to go back on is that, you said when you went to public school, you found that it was outdated. But how is public school different from your private schools other than socioeconomic status? Were the private schools not doing the same thing in the same way, kind of thinking that you needed to, you know, get an education, go to college, and then work for somebody? Or were the private schools more open-minded about,
No, I think
or were you too?
yeah, the general goal of both the schools was exactly the same. Go to college, go through the same way, because that's just how school works. And but the main difference is just the environment at a private school. Just the people, I think, are much happier. You're networking with kids of much wealthier people, so the mindset is completely different. Being in a private school is much better because the people you network with, your friends, the discipline. Let me tell you about the discipline I had at Waverley College and St. John's. It's a crackdown, but that is so much better structured, and the facilities, they just make you happier, because the better work environment you have, the better you're going to work ultimately. And the discipline, again, they told me to wear my blazer. Everyone has to wear their blazer in the winter. I didn't wear my blazer, and the head teacher caught me, and I had to, on a Saturday morning, I had to go on detention for 3 hours.
Mm.
Which is insane. But
I want to go back to one little piece. You said that, you were so confident when you were in these other schools, in the private schools, but when you went to the public school, your confidence went
yeah.
all the way down. What happened?
So I just went from being the man. I'd always been the popular kid at school, and then I come into this school. I was actually a couple weeks late, a couple months late, a term late into getting into the first year of school. People already made their friends, and I was just some weird Australian kid, quite chubby at the time as well. And I just didn't. It was just very, very strange. And also it was winter, and I think yeah, and it took me 2 years to build that confidence back. And doing business, selling sweets, going around asking everyone if they want sweets, actually got me friends with the most popular kids. So that it's like full circle. Business got me back round. It did take 2 years, but it just shows, private school is such a better environment.
Do you think that that was an important lesson for you?
Oh, big time, big networking wise, and everything. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think it's important that you had that experience at a young age, because imagine going all through high school, for example, in a private school, having that confidence, having that, I guess kind of, if you got out of high school, went to college or university, and then had that experience of deflating your confidence to a level, like, because I think the important part is that maybe now it's more, having that experience might have made you more humble, in a sense,
Oh yeah.
of the fact that, where a lot of people that have everything kind of handed to them, or have the privilege all the time to have that private school experience, um don't really know, because they haven't had the experience of going to a school like you had to go to. And then, they kind of are in a different world. They think that the world is not, is what they've experienced, but yet there's a lot of kids, unfortunately, that have to experience every day public school, because they don't have that opportunity. So I think that you are better off for having that experience, although I'm sure it was a very difficult experience for those couple of years. All right, so now that we've heard about the three of you and how incredibly amazing you are, who wants to start telling about how you took the three of you, who Ben is in Los Angeles, Luke is in England, and Alex is in Australia, and how the three of you guys came together for Rich Kids Global?
Yeah. So as Alex was saying earlier, we both went in this business competition, right? And after I'd done that, it was wow, cool. Got some prize money, and I started thinking about other business ideas while I was doing this digital marketing company. And I came up with the idea with my dad to build a platform around kids to help them to become successful, because I'd seen my journey and how long it took. Half my life it's been, because I'm 16 now, started when I was 8, and it really doesn't have to be that long, because the amount of lessons that I've learned in this year have been the most. It's been the most impactful. And the three main things were books, and the content inside the books, from the most intellectual people of all time, all the business books that you hear about, Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and all these sort of books. A lot of the most successful people, these books are a testament to their success. So that's one of the programs, and there are a couple more. But I had this idea, right, and my dad was like, Luke, you can't take this idea off by yourself. Let's get on the call with that kid who also won, who won the juniors, right? So I started connecting over to Alex after we had won the competition, and then we started chatting. Then Rich Kids Global was mine and Alex's thing, and then we started developing more and more ideas. And then Ben had an event going on soon, so me and Alex both hopped on Ben's event, saw what he's about, because he won the same competition just the year before, right? And then we went on it, and Alex, Ben was actually doing a mini pitching competition on his event. Alex actually won it. It was 2:00 in the morning my time, so I had to head to bed, but Alex won it. And then we got some graphic design, so that's how we got all of our brilliant logos, because we got a month's worth of design pickle, which is usually $400 per month, and we got that for free, a month free. And we saw the stuff that Ben was doing. My dad encouraged me again, like, Luke, you got to get on a call with Ben, because you see what he's doing. He's doing incredible stuff, and look, his network, his podcast as well, you know, he can really help get some more people in as well. And then so we got on some calls with Ben, and we brought him on. And without my dad, I think Rich Kids Global would be nothing like it is today. Nowhere near as close as it is to start launching our first product, which stay tuned for the next couple of months. I don't think we would be here without my dad encouraging me, because I wanted it to be my thing. But you know, the power of business partners has really brought us closer together. So let me talk about the three different services or products. So you come into Rich Kids Global, you're a parent, and you're like, wow, I want my kid to be successful. I want my kid to start achieving his goals, because nowadays kids go on video games. They're always distracted by social media. Just last year, I spent six months during coronavirus on my Xbox every day. That's what I do every single day, all day. What change? And this is what kids' lives are from. What kids' lives are like now. So they'd step one, they'd get their kid on the Young Entrepreneurs Book Club, and the Young Entrepreneurs Book Club is a subscription box where we send out a book every single month with some with a curriculum around it. You jump on a call every week with us to tell you what chapters to read. We go over the top learnings. There'll be a workbook around it, and that's what happens every month. And this is just to gain the knowledge and some ideas of what business they might want to start, or what project they might want to start. And that's step one. And that is like Alex was saying, if you don't have the right structure of a house, it might fall down. And that's really the base of what these kids should be learning. So that's what that'll be their foundation. And then we'll go on to successful startup. Successful startup is quite similar to the project that we all did and won the competition. And that is when you come in with an idea, or maybe you're building the idea, and after the month, you'll be able to start launching your first product, or even going to investment. How incredible is that? A kid just starting their project, and now you can go get investment and launch your first product. And it's really a month.
It's really just to plant that seed in their mind. You know, there's this possibility of going into business as you are at this age, instead of, say, waiting until you're an adult and waiting till you finish school. So just need to add that on.
Yeah. No. So go ahead, Alex. So you put, so first one is the book club, step 1. Step 2, then it's, planting that seed for a startup. So how do you take them through that?
Yeah, so we're working on a great curriculum. It's a month long, all inclusive. We go into the ideas, the kind of things that you need to implement, maybe even getting business partners. All of these little things that we've gone through in Rich Kids Global and all of our other business ventures and more, just so they have a solid foundation. They know exactly what they're getting themselves into to really get ready for that first product and an investment. So when we were pitching to investors, the amount of research that we had to do, it was very not so structured. But we want to give that structure to them, so it's a lot easier for them. Of course, nothing's ever going to be easy. Success does come from hard work, and easy is not the way. But just lay it out more clearly, so it's much more efficient.
Okay, so with that, so did the 3 of you guys pitch together?
Yeah.
Was that, so the 3 of you pitched to whom?
It was a pitching competition based in Australia.
Yeah, it was a pitching. Spill the Beans is basically a 10x for kids, TEDx for kids. So really, kids jump on and do this pitch fest competition, where all these kids from around Australia, actually around the globe, come on and pitch their business idea, or pitch their business idea to these people. And it really varies on who the judges are. So for us, we got Scott Washers, NRL rugby player over here in Australia, and Sam Riley's, who is a gold medalist in swimming. So you can get a lot of different people into it. I won't go too deep. I won't dive too deep into that. But yeah.
And what did you guys pitch? Did you guys pitch Rich Kids Global?
Yeah, because that is the only business that we have together. And just this week, I was the judge at a pitching competition, and I'll tell you what, how crazy it was to see. It was a pitching competition for late teens, 20-year-olds, and just seeing their pitches, it was really like, wow, these guys have no idea what a pitch is. It was incredible to see, and these guys are in university. It was crazy, but we gave £2,500 away to the winner. There were 3 winners, and just seeing that they really need help with their pitch. I'm telling you, if they went to
I think a lot of people need help with their pitch. I wouldn't necessarily be so shocked by that, because the thing is that when you're new in business, I mean, even for myself, I'm new in business, and so when I was going to try and pitch something, I sounded horrible, because a lot of times you have to remember, people come up with the idea for a business that aren't necessarily business people, right?
There might be, like, for me, I was in education. I never had to pitch anybody. Like, I never thought about that. So when, and hey, I'm brutally honest, it's not like and so, like, literally I would go on the pitch rooms this past 3 months in Clubhouse to listen to other people's pitches and listen to the critiques that the investors were giving, and, like, taking notes. And that's how I learned to do that. And then I also, I took a class with Forbes Riley. She's called, like, the pitch queen. And so she taught me a lot on how to do that. So I wouldn't necessarily be surprised, even though they're in university or in college. Like, I consider myself a pretty intelligent person. However, when they're coming, it's kind of like, I consider myself a wonderful teacher, but you could be a rocket scientist, but that doesn't mean you can teach rocket science, right? So it's kind of like that thing. I could have a great idea for a business, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I can convey that thought in my mind to get you to understand what I'm thinking about, right? So yeah. But however, though, with what you just said, that just goes to show that there is a need for that, because now, especially this past year, I can't remember what the statistic was and how many millions of new entrepreneurs there are now, more than ever, because of COVID. So I think, and young entrepreneurs. So taking that ability and showing them step by step how to do that, how to pitch, and teaching them those steps, it's definitely, obviously, a need. And you just saw it firsthand this past weekend, right? So go ahead, Alex.
Just going back to what Luke was saying before about first attempt in learning, I guess that's the one thing I always have in the back of my mind when I'm having my first attempt in, say, pitching, like we did that first time. We all have our first attempts in learning, and most of them will start off as failures. But the good thing about that is, you can learn. You can either choose to suffer from your failures, or you can grow from your failures.
Absolutely.
When you grow from your failures, you can grow so much. You can, as we say at Rich Kids Global, you can level up so much.
So I like to, in one of the things that I like to say, I like to call it, like, a setback is ultimately is a set up, right, for something greater, because you ultimately learn from that setback.
Oh, that's
if
cool.
you allow yourself to learn from that setback, right? Because sometimes people will say, oh, let the setback hold them down. But if you take it as, oh, okay, well, I did this wrong, and I did this, and now I know that learning that is ultimately going to get me even further than I thought I was going to get, which is ultimately the set up. So yeah, for sure. Because, and I think that that's the important thing that you guys do, is you ultimately help them. And again, coming from you in your age, and saying, we've done this, this, this is what we've learned. We still continue to learn, but we don't allow it to stop us from getting to where our goal is, right? So I think that's really important. So what is each of your guys' role in the business? Because I know that that every business, each person has a different role, which ultimately makes the wheel turn well in the business. So what is each person's role in the business?
Yeah. So right now we don't really have any employees. So right now we are every role in a sense. But if you want to really categorize it, I guess you could call me the CEO. In a sense, I hold the vision and the North Star, and based around that, that's where I talk to Alex and Ben about what we're doing right now and how we need to pivot if things aren't going the right way. So as much as I can be, I know I won't be a proper CEO because I have to do admin and emails and all of these other stuff because we are every employee of the business.
Yeah.
But until that is until we launch this next product. And
Very
Alex, Ben?
Yeah. And for me as BBAF, just quickly going back to that, in BBAF, while I was teaching financial education, I was titled the CFO kid as teaching financial education to these kids. So naturally, as I came into Rich Kids Global, I was the CFO. And I came in and that was my main role for a little while until I started getting into the social media. And I'm not really sure what the title is for that.
CMO, more of a CMO.
More of a CMO.
CMO,
Yeah.
Chief Marketing Officer.
Yeah.
Very good. I love it. I love it. And Ben, what about you, Ben?
Yeah, so right now I'm mainly focused on product and getting the product into hands. So CPO, COO, whatever you want to call it. But that's my role is developing a great product and making sure it gets into customers' hands.
All right. So, okay. So we had the 3 products that you were talking about. You said the first one was the book club. The second one is how
Successful
to
startup.
successful startup, and 3.
So the third one is called M.A.P.S to Success. Now it's called M.A.P.S to Success because M.A.P.S is actually the acronym for our goals, mentorship, adaptability, passion, and success. And it's important because it's called M.A.P.S because everyone has a different journey on their way to success. Like me, for the second 8 years of my life, second half of my life, I was failing quite most of it, and that was my journey up to where I am right now. Alex, homeschooling, business project, passion for bees and competition, and now he's here. See, and Ben, podcast and avocados. See, all very extremely different journeys to success. And how we go about this program, M.A.P.S to Success, is we pair up people with people that they want to be like. So it's a mentorship program. Say if someone wanted to be an entrepreneur, CEO, there'd be a CEO group. And this is where people can be with the person that they want to be like. So they can get a better grasp of not only what that person is doing now, but what that person was doing when they were in the other person's footsteps. Because when I was in London just the other day and I was watching guys drive past in Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and I was like, man, I wish I was like that. Now, why can't I have that? But if you look back to where they were when they were my age, they were in a completely different situation. And if I was speaking to them, if they were a business person, they could guide me through how they did it. And that's why it's so important to have a mentor. And also under M.A.P.S to Success, we'll actually have mentorship courses. So these mentors can put out courses about how they got to where they were in their speciality, in their niche.
I think you're all incredible. I just am very much in awe of you, and I just see the 3 of you going really far and changing the lives of a lot of young people today, and that couldn't be any more important than it is now. I mean, if you can come across to one person who doesn't believe in themselves, who doesn't think they can do it, that it's only just a dream that other people can but they can't, then you've done a wonderful job, because that, I think, is key. And I don't think there's any better way to get to young people than successful young people showing it to other young people as well. So I applaud the 3 of you for that. And I'm really looking forward to learning more about you and having a relationship with you guys and collaborating in the things that you do as well. So thank you so much for being here today.
Oh no, thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks for having us.
Much.
Thank you guys.